they make it seem like, they're watching the sun, moon, and stars, what they're doing, but everything operates in a count that's based upon the number 7. They
That's
can't
right.
get out of it. All right. Now we've gotten to some great areas. Go ahead and read this for me, brother.
Yes. JAH's 28-year perpetual solar cycle of seasons and the Gregorian 28-year perpetual astronomical solar cycle of seasons. JAH's perfect 10,227 days.
Okay. So let's figure out what a perpetual calendar is.
A perpetual calendar is a device that we can use to get the day, the month, and the date for any year that we want. So a perpetual calendar. I want to know what day is December 30th, 2097. A perpetual calendar would be a device that could show me, what day of the week that's going to be, or what is the third Tuesday of 2019. A perpetual calendar would show me those things. When we get into watches, it's kind of the same thing. But in watches, a perpetual calendar is a watch that keeps track of the date correctly year on year, month on month, and including leap years. So most, some months have 31 days, some months have 30 days, and then we got February, which can be 28 or 29 days. So a perpetual calendar watch will keep track of that date for you. So when February 28th rolls around, the next date it shows would be March 1. Your most common perpetual calendars, and they're not even advertised as such usually, would be your inexpensive digital Casios, your Timexes, G-Shocks. All those watches are perpetual calendars. And digitally, it's extremely easy. It's all programmed into a chip, and then the watch can, portray whatever day and date is necessary, whatever is correct for the time.
All right. Okay. So a perpetual calendar should be able to show you any day or date within time. So, what we can do, if we wanted to go back into the times of the Messiah, the last year that the Messiah, the year of the Messiah was crucified, the last time we were alive on earth, we can show you that calendar, the perfect form of it and everything. And if we do that, we can go back to the beginning of creation and show you the creation week. We can go into the future to the end of the 7,000 year cycle. Anywhere you want to go, we're able to see very clearly in time all other calendars and equivalent the Gregorian date and put it upon JAH's true scriptural calendar. Remember, his stuff is numerical.
The first 28-year cycle has its foundation in the first 28-day month of creation. The first month of Abib, like February, has only 28 days. This is not by coincidence. This 28-day month sets the perpetual foundation for the 364-day, 12-month year, which leads into Sabbath years, followed by the 28-year cycle, then the Jubilee cycle, and ultimately into the present 7,000-year cycle of human existence.
That's right. So when you go on to, on YouTube and type in, why does February only have 28 days or had 29? They're going to give you all kind of Roman stuff and whatever. See, we know that these guys, the guy who brought in the Julian calendar, Sosigenes, they say that these guys were astronomers, but they were actually mathematicians. It's coming down to understanding numbers. You might think that they say that there's 365 and 1/4 day because that's how long it takes the earth to go around the sun. But when you find out things, it's not, that's all numbers. They're lying.
That's right.
It's a deception. They want you to deal with the sun, moon, and stars. So again, you notice that Abib and February have 28 days only. And we know that Abib is equivalent to February. And this is no coincidence, as we said. Go ahead, brother.
The first 4 weeks of creation established the foundation of the first month, which is the only 28-day month of the true year. This cornerstone of 28 is the fixed foundation of all the months, feasts, seasons, and years within the 28-year perpetual cycle.
When you understand things, the first month could only have 28 days, no more, no less, because it sets the foundation going right through to the 7,000 year cycle. So again, we teach that Abib is 28 days long. You can show it from the scriptures perfectly as well. But This sets, it's almost like it's like a square. If you had a cube, 7 this way, 7 this way, 7 this way, 4 sevens. It's like I said, it's the cornerstone of time. And right next to it, you see the month Ziph. Since Abib ends on the first 7th day of the week, Ziph starts on the first day of the week, obviously by default. But Ziph doesn't have only 28 days. You can see it has 31 days. Again, it's letting you know that everything is counted and allotted. We can teach why this month starts on this day, why it has 31 days, and all of that information. Again, not today, but just letting you know what we know, right? So just letting you know that, there is no 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, or 35th, days in Abib. It's only 28. And this we know. Again, when you look at Abib from the creation, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, verse 5, evening and morning with day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you got to day 7, what comes after day 7, brother?
Day 8.
Day 8, the next day, the beginning of another week. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the first 4 Sabbaths were on the 7th, the 14th, 21, and 28 of the first month. Passover begins on the first day of the week. The 7th day of Passover is on a Sabbath, and the waving of the sheaf to count 50 days, or 50 Sabbaths, 7 Sabbaths, is on the first day of the week as well. This, again, is all a part of JAH's great perfection, what we teach. Go ahead, brother.
2 Ezra chapter 4, verse 37. By measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times, and he did not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled.
So everything is measured, family, okay? Remember, we're talking about numbering and numerics. Look at this. He measures the times.
That's right.
Not measuring them by the sun, moon, and stars. The sun, moon, and stars operate within JAH's 7-day weekly cycle. He's numbering them. He doesn't move or shift them. He knows what's going on. And let me get more into what I'm talking about here. All right, take this in. Go ahead, brother.
So the total number of days in the perfect 28-year seasonal cycle is 10,227 days. In the 700-year prophetical cycle, there's 255,675 days. And in this 7,000-year creation cycle, there's a total of 2,556,750 days. The days in JAH's cycles cannot be added to or taken away from, because they are the right number of days JAH has allotted for his seasons and his years. The calendars of the world must use the same number of days in JAH's cycles. It doesn't matter how they form their calendars or which days, weeks, months, seasons they use to start their calendar. They live in JAH's creation of his wisdom with his perfect number 7 from the beginning.
So you remember talking about number and days, you might be saying, what the world? Where do these guys get all these numbers from? This and this, going on. But this is now where I told you, pay attention. So we have cycles of years. And because we know JAH's Almanac greatly, we are able to count. In the 28-year cycle, there's 10,227 days. Divided by 28 gives you 365.25. We'll talk about that in a second. 700-year cycle, again, 255,675. Divided by 7 gives you 36,525. So notice goes from 365 to 365.25. Does that sound familiar, family? Where does that 365 and a quarter come from? Anyways, 7,000. Again, the number 7 divides into these things evenly. So this is how in-depth it gets when it comes to calendars and what we've known and counted. And yeah, I've went through all of these numbers. You know what I mean? And this is how much this 2,556 days, that's how much days are in from day 1 of creation to the end of the 7,000-year cycle. David Ray, who's the elder who did all of this work, and he had passed away. He was a mathematician in his own right, because to sit down and figure these things out, but he also left a good way that we can figure these out too. And all of these numbers are not just out there made up. Again, they're based upon sevens, they're based upon cycles and calendars, keeping all the seasons perfectly. No seasons are moving out of line at all.
That's right. And it just goes to show you that JAH indeed does measure time.
That's right.
He uses days and he counts hours, and nothing is left unturned. Everything is numbered within JAH's creation, and he shows this clearly through the scriptures.
That's right, brother. I mean, you've seen this chart many times, but again, take a look at the 7 and the 7,000. 1 year cycle, 7 year sabbatical cycle in the math, 28-year seasonal cycle with the math, 49-year Jubilee cycle with the math, the 70-year prophetical cycle with the math, the 100th century cycle with the math, the 700-year prophetical cycle with the math, and the 1,000-year creation cycle, each day for 1,000 years, like 1,000 years to a day with the math. Everything is so perfect, so beautiful. JAH can only get praised and honor and glory because this is nowhere in the universe. Go search out the internet and all of that. I'm so thankful for this information, especially the Zion Assembly brethren and sisters who know these things. We'll be keeping the New Year in February 9th this year, and we're keeping a true Passover while everybody else will be doing other things. And,
that's right.
I pray that people find out this almanac. We got it in calendars, and I have also the calendar for this year, so you can keep the festivals as well, too. So there are 3 types of years within JAH's 28-year cycle. They are the common year of 364 days or 52 weeks. There's 24 of them in a 28-year cycle. The minor Sabbath year of 371 days or 53 weeks. Again, multiples of 7. There's 3 of them in a 28-year cycle. And then we have the major Sabbath year of 378 days or 54 weeks. There's 1 of them. You have the 28-year cycle on the outside. You have the 12-month year on the inside with the 4 seasons in the big, the corners there, the coordinate points. Then you got the 7 festivals as well, based upon the 7-day weekly cycle. Praise JAH.
Yes, praise JAH.
Looking at this understanding, you have the common years, then you have the first minor Sabbath year, then you have another Sabbath year, you have the minor Sabbath year, and then the 28th year is the major Sabbath year. Wow. All these days added up gives us 10,227 days of perfection. You see, just like I said, showing you before, there's 24 common years because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 times 6. 6 times 4 is 24. These are all common years. And then every 7th year is a Sabbath year. You find the Sabbath years in Leviticus chapter 25. So we have 7, 14, 21, and 28. Now, you're not going to find out how much days are in any years in the scripture that way. They have to be utilized with wisdom of this number 7 and have to operate within creation and the natural seasons. But here you can see a good understanding of this 28-year cycle. There's 4 Sabbath years. They come every 7. So 4 Sabbath years times, or 7 years times the 4 Sabbath gives you 28. Brother, read this.
The 28-year solar season cycle. The solar cycle is a 28-year seasonal cycle of 10,227 days, which always keeps the seasons in order. The Julian and Gregorian calendars use the 28-year cycle with respect to the 7-day weekly cycle. It occurs because leap years occur every 4 years, and there are 7 possible days in a week to start a leap year, which synchronizes with the JAH's 28-year creation cycle of 7s. 4 times 7 equals 28.
That's right. So you see, like how when we were looking at JAH's things, they flip around the number. This is 4 times 7, but JAH's is 7 times 4. It still gives you 28, but you notice it keeps the festivals and everything else is different. It's like the same 10,227 days, but now it's formulated where the Gregorian calendar, you can't really keep up with the Most High's festivals at the proper days and dates. But it's a copy, as David said. It's a counterfeit of the true calendar. So although people say it's pagan and it is all of that, the mathematics and the numericals are perfect. Otherwise, every lunar calendar, everybody in this world will use the spring equinox that Gregorian calendar shows you to begin spring. So it's letting you know that this calendar is keeping the seasons intact perfectly because it's pushed JAH's calendar to the side, and that way people say, "Oh, it's pagan," but at the same time, it's based upon many truths. And this is again the confusion of the devil that way.
That's right.
All right, let's see another video here. Here we go.
Introducing a different way of looking at our current Gregorian calendar. Did you know that it repeats itself every 28 years? This is a graphic representation, a snapshot of our calendar's 28-year repeating cycle in a concentric design that allows any year to be effectively dialed up and displayed. The numbers in the outside ring, 1 through 28, represent the 28 years as it repeats itself every 28 years. Years in the complete repeating cycle are designated 1 through 28 in the outside ring. Year number 29 is simply year number 1 all over again. 1961, 1989, 2017, and 2045 are all year number 1s. They're all just 28 years apart.
So, looking at it, first of all, as we can see, you should know there's a 28-year cycle that everybody knows about out there. All you need is 28 calendars for the Gregorian calendar, and it repeats itself every 28 years. We're not talking about JAH's Almanac, although it has its 28-year cycle, but the Gregorian. So, for example, looking at this screen here, you can see that there's 7 leap years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you could also see here that where are we now? We're going into 2025, right?
That's right. Yep.
Right. So 28 years ago was 1997. 28 years ago was 1969. So the same calendar that you use for 2025, you can use in 2053, 2081, 1997, because they're all 28 years apart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is I'm just going to show you a repeating 28-year cycle that you live in, that no one even told you about, but this is true. Every 28 years, at the proper time, it resets. Let me move on. So again, here's the Gregorian calendar. Remember, JAH's Almanac had 7 like every 7th year was a sabbatical cycle. Well, here it's every 4th year. 1, 2, 3, and this year, 2024, that we're in right now, is a leap year. And in 4 more years, there's going to be another leap year. So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leap years times here plus 21 days. So 21 common years of 365 and 7 leap years gives you a 28-year cycle. And this is how it repeats. After you get to the 20th year, you can go back to calendar 1 again. So all you really need is 28 calendars. Even with JAH's Almanac, that's all you would need as well. All right. So just so you know that there's 10,227 days in the Gregorian year, I want to show you a quick video, but I also want you to take a note here. I'm not showing this video I'm showing right now, but I have 2 videos that show all 10,227 calendar days for a 20-year solar Julian cycle and the Gregorian. And this video is, as you can see, is about 14 minutes long. We're not watching it at all, but it goes through, all it does is go through every day, February 3rd, 4th, 5th, and it tells you the day of the week are, because they know that there's 10,227 days. But let me show you the short video.
How many days is 28 years old? 10,227 days. Calculating the total number of days in 28 years requires accounting for leap years. Typically, 28 years includes 7 leap years, each with 366 days, and 21 regular years with 365 days each.
So, we know there's a 20-year cycle. We know there's 10,227 days. When you do the math, 10,227 divided by 28, it gives you perfectly 365.25. This is where you get your Gregorian calendar from, family.
Right.
And I remember the Javid that, as we look and reason and things, he was, when he brought this out too, it's like, wow, man, because they make it seem like, they're watching the sun, moon, and stars, what they're doing, but everything operates in a count that's based upon the number 7. They can't get out of it.
Can't.
Take a look here. So this is how it works. 1027 divided by 20 is 365.25. This is what they say is in a year, but you can't have a quarter of a day, right? That doesn't exist. So 365 plus a quarter, which is 0.25. So you have 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, and 4 quarters. That gives you 1 day. And this is why 3 years you have 365, but in 366, in the leap year, you have 366 because they add up this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, and put it there. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
So they're able to shift things and hide things, but guess what? They're still using JAH's 10,227 days. Listen, family, they're his days. You can't get around it. You're seeing something right now on your screen that is profound, to say the least.
Greatly.
Smashes up a lot of things of science in the world. So again, this is how it works out. We have the year type, the number of days in the year, which is 365. And remember, 365 is really 52 weeks, because 52 weeks is 364, but they do the plus the 1 day. And there's 21 of these 365 day years, which gives you a total, when you add them up, 21 times 365, it gives you 7,665. Then when you got the leap years, which is 52 weeks plus 2 days, right? Because 364 plus the 2, there's 7 of them. We just learned 7 times 366 gives you 2562. You add 765, and this number here, boom, you get this. You add 21 plus 7 is 28 years. So there's a perfection right there. I want to let you know that even the Jewish people, they know of these things.
One of the rarest and most unique events in the whole of the Jewish life cycle is an event that happens only once every 28 years. And that is an event called Birkat HaChama, the blessing of the sun. We don't actually bless the sun. We praise God who created the sun as a manifest part of the whole universe. That big hydrogen bomb in the sky, which we can't actually see at the moment, is part of a creation that God made in order to sustain human life and thereby bring about the revelation of his name and the oneness of the divine in the world. Every 28 years, the Jewish people commemorate this aspect of creation at the vernal equinox. That is that time in the spring where the days and the nights are of equal length. That is the moment, the vernal equinox, that we are told that the sun was created on the 4th day of creation, right above basically the spot I'm standing now. In fact, it was created at the beginning of the 4th day, which is Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. Therefore, on the Wednesday morning of every vernal equinox, every 28 years, which means that we have gone a full cycle back to Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, so that the sun sits in exactly the same place where it stood at the moment of creation. The Jewish people praise God for creation, and specifically via the sun. Every month, the Jewish people are sanctifying the moon as part of the recurring cycle of creation, but the Jewish people have a synthesis in their calendar between the solar and the lunar. Every 28 years, at some point before 9 o'clock in the morning, the whole of the Jewish world comes together with their hearts directed towards this place.
All right. So you can see again, these guys know what's up. And I tell you, man, it doesn't matter what calendar you use. When you get up into the people who know calendars, these are the things that they're hiding from us commoners, right? So, we talked about this cycle of JAH's 28-year cycle, which has 4 Sabbaths, 12 months, and 7 days. Again, you notice that we have 4 groups of 7, whereas, the Gregorian calendar or the heathen calendar have 7 groups of 4.
Yeah.
Just about that trick there. It's just a reversal of numbers, right? Continue here, brother.
JAH's original 28-year cycle. JAH's calendar originally consists of a 28-year cycle with respect to the 7-day Sabbath week and the 7-year Sabbath cycles. Sabbath or sabbatical years, or 7-year weeks, occur every 7 years, and there are 4 Sabbath years, formulating a perfect perpetual 28-year cycle of 10,227 days. It perpetually repeats every 28 years within JAH's 7,000 years of origination. 7 times 4 equals 28, and 250 times 28 equals 7,000.
That's right. There's 250 28-year cycles in the cycle because all these numbers work out perfectly within 7 or 7,000, right? Looking at now, we're going to count the 10,227 days, dealing with JAH's Almanac. So JAH's Almanac, there's 24 common years, right? And then there's 3 minor sabbatical years, and then there's a major sabbatical year of 378. Adding up all of these numbers gives you, of course, 10,227 days. So let's look at it again. Year type, number of days, occurrences, and total number. So the common year, there's 364 days. There's 52 weeks, right? As we know, perfect. Then we have 24 of those. So 24 times 364 gives you that number. We have the minor Sabbath year of 53 weeks, 371 days, because it's 364 plus 7 gives you 371. There's 3 of those in the 28-year cycle, gives you that number. And then the major Sabbath year is 54 weeks, which is 14 days more than 364, or 2 weeks. And there's only 1 of those, gives you that number. You add up these numbers together, and what do you get?
10,227 days.
That's right. So again, you're seeing how these Gentiles are using things. Now, I just want to say this. In the regular common year, I'm just showing you like how it works. So, in terms of how it would look on a calendar. So in a regular common year of 364-day years, the last month of Adar always has 30 days. It ends on a Sabbath. In the minor Sabbath year, there's 37 days in Adar, or 371 in the whole thing. And there's the extra 7 days. So you notice it says 31, 32, 33, 30, right? 37, because 30 is the regular. And then with the major Sabbath year, it goes to 44 days, which is 2 extra weeks. But all of these, when you count all of these, again, gives you 10,227 days. So for the 364-day common year of 7 times 52 weeks, all the years, whether minor or major or common, begin on the first day of the week and end on the 7th-day Sabbath, right? The months nor feasts interrupt the 7-day continuous weekly cycle. It keeps counting all the way through. Whether you want to see it on the minor sabbatical year with the extra week of 371 days in the minor sabbatical year, 53 weeks, there it is right there. Or we look at the major sabbatical year that way with its 54 weeks or 378 days. This is how Adar would work. It still has the year ending on the 7th day of the week and always going to begin on the first day of the week. So here's another short 20-second video.
The year 2052 is when the calendar for 2024 repeats. This is because the Gregorian calendar operates on a 28-year cycle for years sharing the same day of the week for January 1st, assuming no century years unless divisible by 400. Hence, the calendar for 2024 will match up again in 2052, offering a practical way to reuse and enjoy vintage calendars or plan long-term recurring events.
So once again, there's proof about this 28-year cycle that you can find out yourself. And as you see on the screen here, again, there's 7 groups of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There'll be leap years. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections here. Again, this is their 28-year cycle. And we, again, seen that their common years, I showed this already. Every 4th year, there's 7 of them, right? Now, this is, as I finish out with the last video, this is the last video. Yo, let me tell you something, that these guys know a lot about time cycles. So pay attention to this guy here talking for a couple of minutes. I'm going to cut his video short, but he's going to be talking about the Twin Towers. Take note. Just take note.
All right.
And a return to the land and so on. So the World Trade Center, the towers, they were planned in 1945, a year of Shemitah, and they were completed in 1973, again a year of Shemitah, a Shemitah year. They were destroyed in 2001. And would you be surprised to know that it was also a Shemitah year? Coincidence? I don't think so. So Jonathan Cahn discovered then, as he dug a little deeper, he discovered that there is this cycle in American culture of things that keep happening in cycles of 28 years. Cycles of 28 years. 28 years. Now, I'm really bad in my math, but even I can think, okay, 28 years, that's half of that is 14, and a quarter of that is 7, so that's 4 sevens. Wow, I'm really impressed with myself. That's 4 sevens. That is 4 cycles of Shemitah years. 4. So what Jonathan Cahn was saying is that the Lord seems to be working in America in these cycles of 4 Shemitah, 4 cycles of Shemitah, and then 4 more, and then 4 more, and then 4 more.
All right.
Very interesting.
So that's Shemitah's 20 years. Very interesting. You know, it was planned in 45. It was built in 73. It was destroyed in 2001. All of those are 28-year cycles for them. Their next 28-year cycle is going to be 2029. Keep that in mind. But just to show you, last thing, just to show you, this is very interesting right here. There's a horror movie. And I don't watch horror movies, especially zombie ones, right? Because they're evil. But there's a movie, it just came out, and this is the second part of this movie. The first movie was called 28 Days Later. This one is called 28 Years Later. And yes, I had to watch. When I saw 28, I mean, I had to check out what the trailer was about.
Of course.
This is what I found in there. It said, you know, they went 10,228 days ago. So, you know, we've been saying 10,227, and I'm like, whoa, just one day later. But what they're saying is that there's 10,227, but the beginning of that next 28-year cycle, they added it there to make it 28. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's called 28 years later because they know the cycle, the 10,227 days. And then the beginning of that next cycle will be the 10,228 day, or day number 1. And I just found that it blew my mind. But not even that. When I watched the trailer, you know, I was like, yo, and this is me, you know, just sitting there going, look at these little kids here, they're watching, you know, Teletubbies and everything. I'm like, whoa, I remember that show, you know, and I never watched it, but I remember about it. And then, boy, I went into it and I said, hey, yo, tell me, when did Teletubbies start? It started March 31st, 1997. That was when it started. And in the year 2025, because this movie is going into 2025, it's going to be 28 years. March 31st, 2025 is 28 years. These guys know what's going on.
Yeah, they know.
They know what's going on, family. And I'm trying to let you know what's going on too. Here, this is deep stuff that is out there. So let me finish off. We have, again, the Gregorian 28-year cycle, 10,227 days. You know it. You know the math of the cycle. You can compare now the scriptural cycle in the blue. We have 28 years, 4 times 7, 10,227 days. Then we have the astronomical satanic cycle, 28 years, 7 times 4. You see the difference here? Gives you 227 days. We have 4 sabbatical years and 24 common years. And this is what they are. These are the sabbatical years, and these are the common years. And then the Gregorian calendar has 7 leap years and 21 common years. And again, we did that math. So when we start again, look at things. There's 7 groups of 4 in the Gregorian, and then the 4 groups of 7. And this is JAH's Almanac. Remember, JAH's Almanac his calendar comes first. They had to use JAH's time frames and create their 28-year cycle from JAH's calendar. And we know when they did it. And in the year 1582, when they spliced it, you know, we can see exactly where they did it, you know, right in the middle of JAH's 28-year cycle. So again, looking at these things, look at what's going on. This is why we are able to see everything in time. It's like we're like time travelers, but we're not going anywhere. But we can look back in time and explore any days and dates, because when we do show JAH's Almanac, we have to use the projection of the Gregorian calendar to help communication. Otherwise, you're not going to know what we're talking about. And we know how to count years because, you know, when you're counting years, this deals with, you know, a consistency of counting them. So even from when Adam was born until Abraham, that's a time period. So you have creation to Abraham, and then after that you can work out in the scriptures from Abraham to David, and then from David to the Messiah, and from Messiah to the present. All of this understanding helps us when it comes to chronology, knowing where we are, how to count years. And we know that year 1 is equivalent to 4199 BC. And year 1, after year 1 is year 2. And this is how we count time. But the world they do the BC going backwards and then the AD going forwards. But this is how we know that the Messiah was born in the year 4201 in the 700-year cycle. And this is how we know that we're in 6225 and where we are from time. This is what the world uses as their corrupt calendars going backwards, but JAH's is perfect and goes all the way through, because again, what are we doing? We're just counting, family.
That's
Just
it.
counting. And you could use your JAH scriptures to count. So again, this is why we know where everything is. We know that year 1, again, in JAH's Almanac, is Babylon's 4199 BC. We have tables that go all the way to where we are now. And even this will be in our area. See at the bottom here, it says 6200. You might not be able to see it, but that's the year 2000. And then here, as we go into the year 6225, it's also equivalent to 2025 AD, as you can see. And we know all the years, and everything matches up perfectly and can't miss. Even going all the way through to the year 7000, which is the year 2800 AD, right? Way up in the future there. And the 28-year cycles. We can count the 28-year cycles from time, from the beginning of creation, 4190 BC, and count all of these cycles going all the way through to even where we are now, and right up to the year 7000 as well, which again we said is 2800 AD. And this will be the end of many cycles of time, the 250 28-year cycle, and all of these cycles of time here. And this allows us, of the Zion Assembly of JAH, and anyone who has the Almanac, you're able to see everything with time perfectly, knowing when to keep the festivals. The festivals are always kept on the same day and date of the Most High's calendar all the time, and it allows us to see anything we want. Like, look, for example, this is JAH's 20-year cycle from creation, or year 1 to 28, the 28-year cycle here, which is the year 4199 BC to 4172 BC. We have the equivalent. Year 1 is 4199, and as you go through, we have all the equivalents. Even if you're going to deal with leap years, we record their leap years, even though the Gregorian calendar never even existed back then at all, but we're able to project it onto JAH's Almanac because it's a perfect 28-year cycle. And we can go with this cycle. This is from the year 1933 to 1960, right? Year 1933 here, it's equivalent to the year 6133 from creation. The year 1960 was a leap year, and it's equivalent to the year 6160 from creation. Just look at how easy it is. From 1961 to 1988, where most of us were probably born during this time. I was born in 1971, right? So this would be my calendar year. So I would be able to go to calendar number 11 and look at that calendar and be able to see the exact moment or the day of the week and year that I was born on JAH's Almanac, on his calendar, as well as on the Gregorian calendar. Here's where we are right now. We're just coming off of the Jubilee year, and in a few days, we're going into the year 6225 or 2025 AD, calendar 9. And, there's the rest of the 28-year cycle right to 2044. And we could even take it, further. But this is how we are able to know where we are when the first day of the year is in the 28-year cycle. So this coming 2025 AD, 6225 is going to be, Abib 1 is going to February 9th. This year that just passed was 11th. So you see the year after next year, 2026, it's February 8th. But it's still Abib 1 because the Gregorian calendar moves because it has 365-day years. But the JAH's Almanac, JAH's calendar stays firm because it is with the 364-day straight fixed years. And so you'll see throughout this 28-year cycle from 2017 to 2044,